Hey, you. Let's face it, being out on the road, it's a demanding life.
Hmm.
You're juggling long hours, the constant hustle for good hauls, and then, well, the whole industry seems to be in perpetual motion.
Yeah, it really does. Constant change.
That's why we're taking a deep dive today. We're going to dig into some really important stuff
Hmm.
that's happening right now so you can hopefully stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. We've looked at a whole range of developments, actually. Everything from like practical ways to handle your finances day to day.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
Right. And then up to some of the bigger shifts on the horizon, things like automation and freight, which is a huge topic,
Oh, yeah.
and how giants like Amazon are, changing the game. Plus, we got to talk about the ongoing discussions like the speed limiter mandate.
Can't ignore that one.
No way. It's a
Uh-huh.
lot, I know, but it's all kind of connected when you look closely.
And our goal here, it's pretty simple. Just break it all down, look at it from different angles, and you know how crucial that is, right?
Mhm.
Hervey over at Life as a Trucker is always hammering that point home. See every side of the story.
So important.
Ultimately, we want to give you some solid, useful info so you feel, I don't know, more in control, both on the road and like with your future.
Well said. Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with something that's fundamental for everyone out there.
Yeah.
Your money, your financial well-being.
It's so true, isn't it? You can put in incredible hours, cover serious miles, but that doesn't automatically equal financial security.
Not always, no.
Especially when you're starting out, it's really about being smart with your money, making each mile count in, like, more ways than one.
Exactly. The folks at Truckers VA, they really emphasize this idea of thinking like a business owner.
Like your truck is your business.
Right. It's not just about what you earn. It's about understanding where every single dollar goes. They even pointed us to some handy tools budgeting apps like EveryDollar and YNA
Yeah, I've heard of those.
and FuelBook to help track those fuel costs, which, well, we all know can take a massive bite out of earnings.
Oh, tell me about it. And what's funny is the way they put it, having a clear line between your fun money
Huh.
and what they jokingly called the Don't Be Homeless Fund.
Love that.
It's memorable, right? But it highlights the importance of, conscious spending and knowing what your priorities really are. And, okay, on a more serious note, they really stressed building an emergency fund.
Crucial.
It might seem like a small thing, but how many times has an unexpected breakdown or like a repair bill just thrown everything into chaos?
All the time. It happens.
They suggest even starting super small, like a tiny amount each week, just into a separate account. That little cushion can be a real game changer.
Definitely. It helps you avoid those really high interest payday loans or, constantly needing to ask for an advance.
Oh, that point about advances is so important. They might seem like a quick fix, right?
Yeah, tempting sometimes.
But those fees, man, they can really add up and just keep you stuck in this cycle where you're always playing catch up. Exactly. Building that emergency fund, it gives you actual peace of mind, real breathing room.
And for all you independent 1099 drivers out there, listen up. This is crucial. The IRS, they're serious business.
No joke.
You've absolutely got to be setting aside a significant chunk. They recommended somewhere around 25 to 30% just for taxes.
And that's not just income tax, right?
Good point. No, remember those write-offs too. Meals on the road, showers, work gear, even your truck's Wi-Fi, potentially. All that stuff can add up.
You gotta track it, though.
Yeah, exactly. They mentioned apps like Stride Tax and QuickBooks Self-Employed to help keep track of all that. Sounds way better than a mad scramble come tax season.
Oh, for sure. Being proactive with taxes as an independent contractor, it just avoids nasty surprises and keeps your financial house in order. Knowing what you can deduct, planning for payments, makes a huge difference.
Okay, now this next one might feel like a long-term goal, especially if you're just starting out, but they even touched on investing.
Investing. From the road.
Yeah. Even small amounts, like $10 here and there, through apps like Acorns, Stash, or Robinhood.
Yeah.
They say it can start to grow over time.
Huh. Little by little.
And they specifically mentioned Roth IRAs as a smart way to save for the future, with tax-free growth.
Uh-huh.
It's about making your money work for you too, not just the other way around.
That idea of compounding, yeah. Even with small amounts, it's really powerful over the long haul. It's like planting seeds today for, a more secure tomorrow.
And get this, if you find yourself with some downtime in the sleeper berth.
Which happens.
Right. They had some really interesting ideas for side hustles.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about anything that needs a huge investment or a ton of extra effort.
Okay, like what?
Things like starting a YouTube channel or a blog, just sharing your experiences on the road. or doing affiliate marketing for products you already use and recommend.
Oh, interesting. Using what you know.
Exactly. Even exploring digital dispatching or maybe mentoring new drivers online. They shared an example of one driver, believe it or not, who earns around $800 a month just doing dash cam reviews.
Wow, 800 bucks? That's not bad for a side thing.
Right. What's cool about these kinds of side hustles is how they tap into the unique knowledge and perspective that truckers have.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sharing your expertise or just creating content based on your life on the road, that could be a really effective way to generate some extra income streams.
They even shared this quick story about a young driver, Rico. He admitted he wasn't great with money early on.
Like a lot of folks starting out.
Totally. Then he got slammed with a big truck repair bill, and it was like a real wake-up call.
Ouch.
So he completely changed his approach, started budgeting, saving the whole 9 yards, and now, get this, at 29, he actually owns a small fleet.
Wow, from struggling to fleet owner. That's impressive.
It just goes to show, it's absolutely possible to learn from mistakes and build a more secure financial future.
Rico's story is a great reminder, actually. Financial setbacks don't have to define your journey, right? Learning from those moments, developing better money habits, it can lead to huge positive changes down the road.
And they made a really impactful point, calling the lack of financial literacy a hidden wreck, totaling young truck drivers.
Wow, hidden wreck. That's strong.
Yeah, but it makes you think. It's not just about the risks on the road. Not having a handle on your finances can lead to burnout and debt just as easily.
That's so true. The stress must be immense.
And they highlighted that financial education often isn't a big focus in many CDL training programs.
Yeah, I've heard that too. It's more about operating the truck.
Which leaves a real gap, doesn't it? It means drivers often have to seek out this information on their own.
That gap in formal financial training right at the start is definitely a challenge. It puts new drivers at a disadvantage, makes them more vulnerable to, financial difficulties early on. It's good that there are independent resources trying to fill that void.
Definitely. Okay, so we've talked about getting your financial house in order. Super important stuff.
Foundational, really.
Now, let's shift gears and look at some of the bigger changes happening in the trucking world around you.
Right.
External forces.
Right, the bigger picture stuff.
Hold on tight, because this is where things get really interesting. One development that really stood out is this company called Parallel Systems.
Parallel systems, okay.
They've recently secured a lot of funding to roll out autonomous electric railcars, specifically designed for short-haul freight.
Autonomous rail cars, so like robot trains.
Kinda. I mean, think about it. No drivers needed, just these smart electric railcars moving cargo.
Wow. Okay, that's a significant development in how we think about moving goods. Parallel Systems is proposing a really different approach here.
So how do they work exactly?
Well, the idea is they use these smaller electric-powered rail cars that can operate on their own or link up into what they call platoons.
Platoons, okay. Like trucks do sometimes.
Sort of, yeah. And their focus is on the shorter regional routes. That's particularly relevant for a lot of truckers, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So each rail car has its own engine, its own battery,
Right.
and they can connect together like a little train. But no need for an engineer or a conductor. It's all managed by software and sensors.
Exactly. And they're targeting those shorter trips, the kind of routes that, well, a lot of local truckers handle every single day.
And they're even suggesting this could breathe new life into some of those less used rural railway lines.
From the rail company's perspective, the potential benefits could be substantial, right? Moving freight more flexibly, maybe using existing tracks more efficiently without needing large crews.
And I guess tech investors see it as disrupting traditional freight with that combo of automation and electric power.
Big buzzwords there.
But, of course, there are always different angles to consider. The sources we looked at highlighted that truckers, especially those focusing on local and regional freight,
Yeah.
they're understandably concerned about what this could mean for their jobs.
You think? Yeah, of course they are.
And labor unions have raised some important questions, too, mainly about safety protocols and how these autonomous systems will interact with the existing rail network.
Those are definitely valid concerns. It really reflects the potential impact of automation on the workforce. Those local trucking jobs, they're crucial employment for many drivers.
Stable careers, yeah.
And integrating autonomous anything into our transportation infrastructure brings up complex questions about safety standards, regulations, all that stuff.
Safety is a huge one, isn't it? They talked about advanced braking systems and communication between the rail cars.
Okay, so there are features.
Yeah, but what happens if one breaks down unexpectedly? Or what about security, risk of theft,
Yeah.
or just dealing with severe weather? It's a different ballgame when you don't have a human on board to assess and react.
True. While Parallel Systems has proposed tech-based safety features, the real-world performance, the reliability in all sorts of challenging conditions, that still needs to be thoroughly tested and proven out.
Yeah, big time.
How these systems handle unforeseen emergencies, security threats, that's critical.
And that's a key point for you truckers who run local routes. Those are exactly the kind of routes Parallel Systems is aiming for.
Right, so not likely cross-country long haul anytime soon.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But those regional runs, intermodal stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that seems to be right in their sights.
This whole development really just underscores how important it is to stay informed about these tech changes happening in freight.
For sure.
For local truckers, it might be a good time to think about maybe broadening your skill set, exploring different types of freight, or even looking into those online income opportunities we mentioned earlier as a way to diversify.
Having options,
Yeah.
basically. A backup plan.
Exactly. Build some resilience.
Which brings us right back to the importance of financial flexibility and maybe those side hustles. Thinking beyond just driving the truck seems, well, more crucial than ever in this changing landscape.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of big players making moves, let's talk about Amazon.
The elephant in the room.
Always. They've recently launched a new inbound-only LTL freight service. Sounds a bit technical maybe, but what's the bottom line for truckers?
Yeah, break that down. LTL. Less than truckload.
Right. So this move by Amazon is another example of a major company looking to streamline its operations and basically gain more control over its supply chain.
Okay.
By offering an LTL service specifically for goods coming into their warehouses from their vendors, they're essentially becoming a transportation provider for their own suppliers.
Gotcha. So instead of, say, a company that sells stuff to Amazon using FedEx Freight or Old Dominion to ship it,
Mm-hmm.
now Amazon is saying, hey, you can ship it with us. It might be cheaper, simpler for you.
Pretty much. They're trying to keep more of the process under their own roof.
Makes sense for them, I guess.
Yeah, for Amazon, it offers potential cost savings, increased efficiency in managing the flow of goods into their massive network of fulfillment centers.
What about the trucking companies?
Well, that's the flip side. This could have significant implications for traditional LTL carriers, especially the ones who rely heavily on contracts with Amazon's vendors.
Right. The info we looked at suggests this could lead to fewer shipping contracts for those traditional carriers.
Stands to reason.
And potentially put downward pressure on shipping rates in general. And we all know how competitive rates can already be.
Squeezing margins.
It's almost like Amazon is aiming to be a one-stop shop for everything, including getting the goods to their door in the first place.
Well, they already use a mix, right? Their own trucks, independent contractors, third-party carriers.
True.
But this new inbound LTL service, it just indicates a further integration of transportation into their overall business model. It means tighter control over the freight coming into their facilities.
So what should truckers be thinking about, particularly those in the local and regional LTL sector who, often haul goods destined for Amazon warehouses?
I think the key advice here is diversification. Avoid relying too heavily on Amazon-related freight if possible.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Keep a close eye on LTL shipping rates. And it might be a good time to investigate dispatch tools and digital freight platforms. Stay competitive, find opportunities with a wider range of shippers.
Makes sense. It's all about being proactive, right? Not getting caught off guard as these huge industry shifts unfold.
Precisely.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot about finances and these big industry changes, automation, Amazon.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah. Now, let's turn our attention to an ongoing debate that I know is on many truckers' minds. The whole issue of speed limiters.
Ah, yes. Speed limiters, always a hot topic.
The Drive Act has been reintroduced recently. That's the one aiming to prevent any federal mandate requiring them on commercial trucks. What's the latest on that?
Okay, so the Drive Act, that stands for Deterring Restrictive Impedes on Vehicles and Equipment, catchy name.
Only in government.
Right. It's basically a piece of legislation trying to block the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, from requiring speed limiters on all large commercial trucks.
So keep things as they are now.
Essentially, yeah. Trying to maintain the current situation where individual trucking companies and drivers can decide whether or not to use them.
And, well, we know there are strong feelings about this in the trucking community.
Oh, definitely.
The info we reviewed really highlighted the arguments against speed limiters.
Yeah.
Concerns about creating dangerous traffic situations with trucks all bunched up.
The speed differential problem, yeah.
Right. Trucks trying to pass each other very slowly, frustrating passenger vehicle drivers who then take more risks, potential loss of income for drivers paid by the mile, and just this general feeling of, like, not being trusted to operate their own vehicles safely and efficiently.
Those are absolutely the core concerns many drivers have voiced. The perception is that restricting truck speeds can lead to hazardous interactions with faster traffic, especially when trucks struggle to overtake.
And the money aspect is real for mileage guys.
Absolutely. The potential hit to earnings, particularly for those paid by the mile, is a huge point of contention.
But the sources also presented the other side of the coin. The perspective of some of the larger trucking fleets, safety advocacy groups, and the FMCSA itself.
Right. They argue that speed limiters can make it easier to manage truck speeds across the board, potentially reduce the frequency and severity of crashes.
And save fuel.
And even lead to fuel savings, yeah. That's often part of the argument.
It's important to acknowledge those different viewpoints for sure. Large fleets, they often see limiters as a way to boost safety across their whole operation, maybe lower their insurance costs.
Makes sense from their perspective.
And safety advocates are focused on preventing serious injuries and deaths from high-speed crashes involving trucks.
Understandable goal.
It definitely seems like there's a divide within the industry itself, though. OANIA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, they're strongly backing the Drive Act, trying to block the mandate.
Very vocal about it.
While the ATA, the American Trucking Associations, seems to have a more nuanced stance, probably reflecting the mix in their membership.
Yeah, that division within the industry really highlights how complex this issue is. Owner-operators, smaller carriers, they often prioritize driver autonomy, operational flexibility.
Right, let this driver drive.
Whereas larger companies might place a greater emphasis on standardized safety protocols, managing risk across their fleets. Different priorities.
So what's the likely path forward for this Drive Act? It's been reintroduced, but that doesn't guarantee it becomes law, right?
That's right. It's just the start of the process. The bill now needs to go through committees, get votes in both the House and the Senate.
The whole legislative dance.
Exactly. And it's likely to face opposition from the FMCSA and various safety lobbying groups. The sources we looked at encourage folks who support the Drive Act to contact their elected officials, make their voices heard.
So get involved if you care about it.
Yeah. And it's also worth remembering that even with this bill in play, the FMCSA is still in the process of developing potential speed limiter regulations. So this is very much an ongoing situation, needs continued attention.
Okay, so even as this debate plays out in Washington, the possibility of federal speed limiter mandates is still very much on the table.
It hasn't gone away, no.
Definitely something for everyone out there to stay informed about.
Absolutely. Keeping tabs on these regulatory developments is crucial. They can directly affect how you operate your truck and, well, ultimately, your livelihood.
Okay, wow. We have covered a lot of ground today.
We really have.
From taking control of your finances, which is huge,
Foundational.
to navigating this evolving industry with automation, big players like Amazon, and then this ongoing discussion around speed limiters.
Yeah, lots of moving parts.
And it all kind of comes back to this central idea, doesn't it? You're the ones putting in the hard work out there day in, day out. And it's so important to remember to manage your time, not just for the shippers you serve, but also for yourselves, for your own future security.
That's a really key takeaway, I think. With all the demands, all the changes, it's easy to get completely tunnel visioned on just getting the load delivered.
Totally. Just the next mile, the next load.
But proactively investing some of that off-duty time in yourself, that's essential for long-term success and, frankly, well-being.
Exactly. Like Hervey from Life as a trucker always reminds us, it's so important to see these issues from all angles.
That perspective piece again.
Think about using some of that downtime in the sleeper constructively. Maybe it's exploring opportunities to learn new skills. Our sources even mention the potential of, like, AI-related skills as a way to generate extra income down the line.
AI skills for truckers. Interesting angle.
Yeah. Or looking into those online income ideas we talked about earlier. Check out resources like retirefromtrucking.com or truckersidehustle.com. It's all about taking proactive steps, building more control over your career and your financial future.
That ability to adapt, to acquire new skills, especially in areas like tech or online business, it can provide a really valuable safety net in an industry that's constantly changing.
Creates more pathways, more options.
For sure.
Ultimately, despite all the shifts, all the ongoing debates, your skills, your dedication, your hard work as professional truck drivers, it remains absolutely vital.
Couldn't agree more. the backbone of the supply chain.
We want you to see this information not as like a reason for panic or concern,
No, definitely not.
but as knowledge. Knowledge that can empower you to make informed decisions, build a more secure and hopefully fulfilling career on your own terms. We have immense respect for everything you do out there.
Absolutely. The trucking industry is evolving, no doubt, but the expertise, the commitment of the drivers, that's the foundation. Our whole goal here is just to provide insights, resources, so you can navigate these changes with confidence and build a sustainable, rewarding future.
So as you're out there on your next haul, maybe take a moment. Think about how some of the things we've discussed today might apply to your own situation, your own plans for the road ahead.
Good exercise.
Maybe check out some of those resources we mentioned, lifeeasytrucker.com, retirefromtrucking.com, truckersidehustle.com. They could be a good starting point for digging deeper. Lots of info out there.
We really appreciate your dedication, all the hard work you put in day after day. Seriously. We'll continue to bring you these deep dives, try to help you stay informed and feel more in control in this really dynamic industry.